I want to welcome Gwen Edwards from State of the Arts Productions. She is here with us on Let's Talk Theater to talk to us about behind the scenes, the management part, and also about how it felt for her to go from being a manager costume prop person to directing her first play. So without further ado, I would like to welcome you again, Gwen, to Let's Talk Theater,
Thank you.
girl.
Thank you very much, Julie.
I think that the first thing that would be important for us to start out with is to talk about State of the Arts Productions and how that came about for those out there who don't know what it is and how that it's such an important part and has been to Central Ohio theater.
Well, State of the Art started back actually as just a thought in my son's mind in I think it was 2013. I think 2013 we put it down in paper and applied for our nonprofit license. But we wanted a theater, he wanted a theater basically that was for all people. That and actually one of our slogans is theater is and should be for everyone. So we were basically tired of seeing people get passed over in auditions because, well, maybe they were a little heavier than everybody else, or they weren't the right race or things like that. So we wanted a theater that was, number one, colorblind. And a lot of theaters say they're colorblind, but we wanted a theater that was colorblind that also included the audiences. Because when we would go to some place, we see very few minority guests in the audience. So we wanted to make sure our plays had something where people would want to come and see them. And so we started State of the Arts Productions. And most of you know, well, some of you do know that my son passed in 2014. And we decided to keep the theater going in his memory. So we've been going strong since 2014.
Gwen, first off, I want to say, I commend you for going on and carrying out your son's vision with keeping State of the Art Productions alive, because it could have been very easy to not, during your grief at losing your son, I'm sure could have been real easy to say, well, he's no longer here, so we're not gonna.
That was my plan.
Was that your plan? So talk
That
to
was
us.
my plan. That was
Yeah,
my
talk to
plan.
us about that.
And I did, after he passed, I said, well, we only did one show. We didn't have a whole lot of things in to worry about. We didn't have a history really. We just did that one show. But when I would talk about it, everybody said, no, don't do it. Our board members at the time said, no, that was his vision. That was his dream. That's his legacy. Keep it going. And my granddaughter, she was 3 at the time, but she would say, when's the next show? So that's one reason, but it wasn't my plan to let it go. And it has been in my plan about every year since, but we're still going.
Talk to us about how important it is to have a team, and have a board that is supportive of you like that. Because I'm sure that if they hadn't been, as you said, that supportive and gave you that push,
right,
State of the Arts would not be here still today. So, and I think that a lot of times people don't understand the backstory of production companies and the people behind the scenes, and especially a board member. Talk to us a little bit, because in Let's Talk Theater, I want to not just talk about our shows and stuff. I want to talk a little bit about Let's Talk Theater. What's that about? How important is it to have a good board, people working with you?
It's very important. It's the thing really that keeps you going, because everything's not on your shoulder. But with our theater, it's kind of different because we're a family business, really, in essence. That's what we are. My daughter is a very important part of our business. Lauren, she does a lot of our paperwork, technical type stuff like that. And so, and the first set of board members we had were handpicked by Gwen. You know, they were friends of his or friends of the family that we knew. And we've always tried to keep a diverse board, you know, because we didn't want to be designated as a so-called, quote, Black theater company, although there's nothing wrong with that, but that's not where we were at that time. And so we have, and we still have a pretty diverse board. And it helps because you hear different things from different people, and it increases your, I guess, outlook in the community when you have a good board, and also when you have a diverse board. Because our board consists of, right now, we consist of Asian, African American, Caucasian, and something else, you know, but we're just a very, very diverse board. And
So being a diverse board, how important is it? And do you guys focus on bringing diverse works to productions? And how important do you think it is, especially now with our climate, you know, with systematic racism and everything that's going on right now, and our knowing how important the theater has been as a vocal and visual
right.
mark in speaking out against injustices in society, and also finding a way to entertain people and help people
Right.
get through stuff.
Well, as we're looking through plays that we're going to do, and usually our season includes a drama, a comedy, and a musical. And for our dramas, I mean, for our musicals and comedies, we usually end up doing well-known Broadway plays. So our last one, with that said, that doesn't mean that it can't be diverse. You know, we did Annie, which was very diverse. Everything that we've done has been diverse. The last show that we were going to do, but got canceled due to the virus, was Godspell. And we had a very diverse cast for that. And behind the scenes, we like to keep diversity in our directors, our choreographers, our music directors, and things like that. So we're just we keep it in mind. It's almost like it's a secondary thing. It's because we've done it so long that we just know, you know, that that's the way it's going to be.
And of course, you know, those of us that have decided that we are going to be in entertainment world, the show must go on.
Correct.
Talk about, I'm glad you brought that up. Talk about how difficult it was, because Godspell was set to
It
hit
was ready to
stage
open.
just a week before, you know, everything got shut down. And so let's talk a little bit about that, because, you know, there's a lot of people who things got stopped. And how did you guys get through that? And what challenges did you have from that? Or did you learn something from that? How are you guys going to move forward if this
Well,
pandemic ends?
well, with Godspell, you know, like you said, we were getting ready to open. So the costumes were done, the sets were decided on, and all we had to do was move upstairs. We were doing it in CPAC, Columbus Performing Arts Center. And then all of a sudden it was, boom, we're closing. You know, you can't do it. And so it was hard. It was hard for our cast because they had worked so hard. And it was really a good show. It was going to be a really good show. So that part was hard. But one thing that, as a production company, we try to uphold our contracts. And so what I decided was I was going to give the cast and the crew their stipend that they earned, because it wasn't their fault. It was, you know, a week before opening and they didn't get to perform. So that's one thing I did. You know, I worked it out. I paid them half of it. And then I told them as soon as I got the refund back from MTI, and that's the publishing company, I would complete their stipend. And so I'm proud of State of the Arts because we did that. Because I don't know what a lot of the other companies did, if they just said, well, you're out of luck, or or whatever. But that was a commitment that we made to our casting crew.
And I felt the blunt of that too, also because I was the director for Godspell, and so it really was after. I mean, because the cast had really worked very hard. All of us did for those 6 weeks, and to have it just shut down,
rug pulled out.
It was like, whoa. So, what do you think? I know that you guys have something in the works for next year, and you also, are you going to do anything this year, fundraising wise, or anything? What do you guys have planned for State of the Art so far?
Well, for the rest of this year, I really don't think that we're going to be able to have anything else. As far as fundraising, we did the thing with the Columbus Foundation, and we did pretty well with that. And so that helped us to give us more of a cushion for going forward. And so we're not doing anything this year, but actually you will see notices going up for auditions, because we're going to be auditioning for our March production of Songs for a New World. And we're doing that with the Abbey Theater in Dublin. So I just got off a meeting today with them, and it's going to be exciting. We've planned for if the theaters are open, and we plan for if the theaters are not open by March, which I'm hoping they'll be open, because that'll be a year out. But the way things are going, I'm not sure.
Yeah, the way things are going right now, I don't know. But I like the fact, and I think a lot of us are doing this now, is we're looking at both options. If we can be on stage, and if we can't. And we've had some experience with that. You've had experience with having to work Zoom video as a director for the Columbus Black Theater Festival, directing Wild's monologue of the Girl Scout.
That was exciting. That was different. It was very different because also with being the director, I had to be the videographer, the editor, and everything else. So it was thrown into the fire totally. So, but it was a wonderful experience. I had a good time learning about directing. Some things that I never thought about directors have to think about, like some of those little things, that happens within a play that a director has to think about. So that gave me a chance to get out of my behind the scenes role and to jump right into the behind the camera production part. And my actress did cooperate with me sometimes. So.
Sometimes. So you had an actress that was a little cooperative.
Right. That was some cooperative.
So do you think that you would want to direct again?
I don't know. I was thinking about it, and maybe I would try it again. Maybe as a co-director or something like that, so I could learn a little more about directing, because this was like a one-person show, so it was a little different. So I don't know. That's something that hasn't really been my forte or my interest. I'd rather just find somebody to direct our different things. But it was kind of interesting. It was fun. I might think about it again.
Well, speaking of your expertise, costume making, prop making, set making. You are
we had to do it all.
That's walking around with the tool belt on, being able. So talk a little bit about that, because there are so many aspects of having to have a production company and actually putting on a play. And talk about this is what I want you to talk about, because these are things that I see you as excelling in. And I learned a lot from working behind the stage on your show Annie, and was it
The Color Purple?
The Color Purple, and then what was the one with the flashlight that I use?
Oh, rumors.
Rumors.
Rumors, yeah.
And so I was blessed to have the opportunity, of working with you guys behind the scene as prop person, helping with costumes, not too much with the sets because, I'm not that good with that. But, I could hold a flashlight, stuff like that. But talk about that piece because that's a very important piece. And to be able to do some of that stuff your own self.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We did it basically out of necessity. Number
mm-hmm.
one, when we first started, we didn't know many of the theater companies in Columbus, so we didn't have any resources for that. And so actually for our first show, our only set piece was a picnic table, which I built. and then I think we had like bandstand, a little guardrail with bandstand thing around it. But that was what we used. And most of our shows, we were able to do the sets ourselves. For The Color Purple, we had a couple people who helped us paint and build, put the platforms together and things like that. But for most of the part, we do our own sets. Costumes was me and my mom starting out. Me and my mother did them, starting out. And then we had other people who would help us look for costumes. Julie would go out and help me at the thrift stores, try to find costumes and things like that. And then we use Debbie's costume shop a lot. She was really good to us. And that's basically how we started with the costumes. Makeups, our cast did their own makeup for the most part, and so luckily they were gifted enough to be able to do that themselves.
Yeah, and you save a lot of money.
Oh yeah,
Especially when you're starting off your small company.
right.
It costs money
Oh yeah.
to have people come in and build sets for you,
Oh
and
yeah.
so it costs money to have people make costumes for you. And I just want to talk about some of your set pieces that I admired. The mailbox that you made for Annie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and what was it?
I didn't make that one. Actually, one of our board members made that one, Ebony Parlor.
But it came from your group.
Yeah.
You did not. You guys didn't have to go out. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You were able to, with your own.
Yeah. The one that I was the most proud of was we did a show called 1940s Radio Hour, and it was backstage at a radio station, and they had in the script they called for a Coke machine. Well, those Coke machines were expensive. So I knew right away, no, it's not going to be a Coke machine. So I scoured around trying to find something that would work. And me and a friend of mine we happened to go in this secondhand, I don't know if it was a furniture store or what, but anyway, they had a tub out of a wash machine there. And so I said, I want that. They said, if you take it, you can have it. So I made a Coke machine
I was
out of
going to
the
mention
washing
that.
machine.
I
Yeah,
was going to say that was one of my favorite. That Coke machine. It was like,
it was
just being
vintage. I
able
mean,
to do that. Yeah.
and my daughter who lives in Atlanta, she went into the Coca-Cola factory and got the decal, the original old-fashioned Coke decal that we put on the machine. So it looked like something you see if you drive up to a gas station or something in the 50s, in the
Yeah.
40s and 50s. So that, and I made, also for that show, I made a light, an applause light and a silence light on or off, so things like that. So a lot of things you just sort of, you have to do. So you find a way to do it. So you have to do, because you have no money, to afford things. So
One of the other things that you bring to the State of the Arts Productions is the grants. You're a grant writer. How
yeah.
important is it when you're a 501(c)(3) to be able to write and get grants?
Yeah, that's another thing that I wasn't planning on doing that I found out I had to do was to write grants. And once you do them, because they're pretty straightforward on what they want to know. And if you know your company, if you know the city, you know your audience, you know what you want to put in the grant. And so the Greater Columbus Arts Council is one that we've received. We received one from Ohio Arts Council, and just help from Columbus Foundation and different places like that. We won our first year, we received the soup award. And that's one where you go and eat, you have soup and people put in money, and the money is, and then they vote on who gets the money. And so, and we got that. Actually, that was the first grant that we received. The first monies that we received was for that. And so I constantly am looking at grants because there's a lot to it. It's time consuming, yes, very time consuming, but it's a necessary part, especially if you have a nonprofit and you don't have any steady stream of income coming in.
And because if, one of the things in Columbus, Central Ohio, we have rich in theater companies, but
Yes.
we don't have theater venues.
Yep,
We don't
right.
have
Mm-hmm.
our own theater space.
Right.
And so
It's a
there's
few of
just
the
a
lucky ones.
handful of us. So
Mm-hmm.
like you said, it's important to have that extra stream of money coming in, because if you don't have your own venue, your own theater building, you can't
Right.
have productions every week. You can't do it because
Right. Yeah, you can't
we
do it.
have so
Mm-hmm.
many theater companies. It's hard to get in to the places
Exactly.
that let you in.
Mm-hmm. That's
Uh,
exactly true. That is a big problem. I see that as one of the biggest problems in Columbus theater is the lack of venues. And some of those companies that are lucky to have their venues, that they can rent out some, and things like that. We've tried to use Columbus City Schools, some of their facilities. We've used the Columbus Dance Theater. They rent their stage out sometime, and we've used them quite a bit. And the Columbus Performing Arts Center we've used, but now I think the Shed Theater, we can't use that because of the roof. And so that cuts out another venue space. So
yeah,
it's
yeah, that
it's
cuts
hard. I
out
mean,
another big venue.
yes,
Not being able to, get into the shed has
yeah,
really cut down a lot on our theater companies who
mm-hmm.
uh,
Rely on that
we
space.
rely on that space,
Mm-hmm.
that venue.
Yeah,
Uh, you can't. How do I say this? All of us cannot afford some of the
exactly,
venue spaces because of the
exactly.
high rent.
Yeah, right.
And so you can't, if you rent the space, you won't make a profit. You'll lose
That's right. You'll lose money.
because you
Mm-hmm.
can't, you're a smaller company, you have smaller audiences and stuff, so you can't possibly fill those
Right.
seats.
Those things. Mm-hmm.
So, but you're paying, to use those seats.
Yeah.
So that is very difficult. With that in
Mm-hmm.
mind, how do you think you see that since we've had to use streaming as a means
Oh yeah.
now to get our theater work out, although yes, and we know it's not the stage, but people have been able to use that venue. Do you
Mm-hmm.
think that might be now something that we would be adding once we open the theaters back up, because of the ability to reach such another vast audience that we
I
couldn't
think so.
reach?
Mm-hmm. I think it will be. I think people will be streaming stuff from now on if they can, and the rights companies have gotten smart, and they include a streaming license that you get. For instance, I got the rights for Songs for a New World, and then they added in a streaming license with it. It costs you extra $75, but it's well worth it if you can, to do the live stream with. And that's what a lot of people don't realize is exactly how much it is. Unless you have a theater company and you do the production part of it, you don't know how much it is for those rights. For instance, for Songs for New World, the rights for that is $155 per performance. So we're doing 6 performances, and then it's $400 just the deposit, And then it's $650 for the books, the materials, the books and the things like that. And then the $75 for streaming. So I don't know if you've been adding, but it totals a chunk of change. So and that's with any show, any musicals you do like that. Plays are cheaper, to get the rights for those. But you still have a lot of different costs involved with that. So it's not, starting a theater company is not for the weak at heart at all, because I've used my own money. And Julie, I know you use your own money a lot to get productions up. So
Yeah.
it's
But keeping, that just moves me into another topic that I think is so important as a piece of our production companies, and especially as the management back piece, production team piece of it and stuff. How important is it that we have so many actors and people that are willing to work and perform for stipends, that are small,
yeah,
and compared to, but still, want to be a part of it and do a good job, and really bring it, knowing that
yeah.
they're not going to get that much money. And like you said, the ones, some of them don't even realize that the reason you can't get that much money is because we had to pay all this much money.
Exactly. Yeah, they don't know. And but one thing I'm finding though, that people who love theater and love what they do, that money's secondary to them. They know that's not gonna pay their bills. As far as like going to work, and most of them have full-time jobs. Other than theater, but they just love theater. And so they will want to contribute the best way they can, or any way they can, to the production. And that's why I try to, like, for instance, The Color Purple. When we did that, only the principals were getting a stipend. And we had so many other people in that play that were doing it for nothing. But it turns out that we earned a lot. And that's another thing I believe in with State of the Arts Productions. We do it for the people. We're not trying to get rich or anything. So when we made a decent amount from The Color Purple, I ended up being able to give everybody something. And so that really made me feel good too, as a producer, because these were people that weren't expecting to get anything, but because they did such a great job and a good job, and they promoted the show, we did pretty good. And so I gave that back to them. So if people are going to do it, they do it out of their heart. They're not doing it for the money.
Well, and I can attest to that, because I was working with the props as a volunteer, just because like I just wanted to be a part of it and help my sister out. And so I remember when you was like, "Hey, we got some extra money," I'm like, "Whoa, thank you,"
Yeah.
because I wasn't expecting that, but I was very appreciative of the fact that your company is like that. You know that there are companies out there. We are out there that aren't just for the money. We are out here to help, to make sure that people see
and entertainment,
that people are able to participate in it,
right,
that love it, and want to do it, and that we do it. And
right.
you doing it and kept it on out of love for your son, because this was his dream and it was his vision. And then you have a granddaughter who is also now Little Miss Princess, which I'm trying to get her mother to bring her on, so we got to interview and talk to Aaron about the business, like
having a mother
how it is to be the mother. So it's going to carry on. Because you had the courage, had the support team of your family and your board members and the community.
Yeah, and there's really some great kids in theater, and their parents. And when we have kids in our show, I sort of know what the parents want to hear, what I'm going to do, this and that, because I was there. I was them, 30 something years ago. So I try to look after our kids, and we try to keep in touch with them. I've had 4 of them, I think, graduated now, and are in college. And so just watching them through the years, watching them grow, and sometimes they grow so fast you don't even realize it. You know, when some of my little orphans from Annie are now juniors and
Yes.
in high school and things, it really does something. And you say, hey, I had a little piece of that, you know. So that was good. And so we're trying to get more people involved in theater. We do a camp every summer, and Julie did our camp this summer, which we did virtually. And so that was a way of exposing more kids to theater. And one thing I really like to do, if we ever get a space, is do some of the technical classes. Maybe your child's not interested in being on stage, but wow, how did they do those lights? You know, how did that sound like that? You know, how did they build that set? You know, how did they get those costumes to look like that? You know, they're interested in stuff like that behind the scenes of a theater. So I'd love to do some classes on with some of that things as subjects.
Well, you have a lot to teach. That's for sure. I've definitely picked up a few pointers from you. Even bought me a drill. I've even called you sometimes saying, now look, how do I do this? How this tool work?
Yeah, you learn a lot about tools backstage.
Yeah.
And plus,
yeah.
That's a job for them. In the summers, if they go like to a theater company and say, hey, I know how to build a set, I know how to paint, I know how to stage manage, I know how to do lighting. You know, that's income for them as they grow. So
yes. So tell people how to get in touch with you guys, State of the Arts Productions, so that they can be aware of the upcoming auditions,
okay.
and that and just in general know what.
Yeah, we have a great Facebook page, and if you like musicals, our social media person, she does a Saturday soundtrack every Saturday, and it's a different show. So you go to our Facebook page, State of the Arts Productions, and then our email is stateoftheartsproductions@gmail.com. Our website is www.soartspro.com. So that's the way to get in touch with us, and my number is 614-266-4562. And we can give you information on auditions. You can go to any of those to find out information on the auditions. Please audition for a show, you know, because you never know. You know, you never know. You might have this, you might say, well, I was in theater in high school, but I haven't done anything in 50 years. Well, so what? You know, you still have those skills. Yeah. So, and that's another thing about our company. We were talking about diversity. Age does not matter to us unless it specifically says a certain age. You know, we'll take any ages from 7 on up.
Costume designer, set designer, grant writer, director.
That's all trades. You can just stop right there.
We can say director now.
Yeah, I guess you can. I have to do a new.
We can add director to that now. Mm-hmm. I want to thank you so much for being with us today on Julie Whitney.
Thank you for having me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Bye.